Hey guys, I'm David DeMuzio.
And I'm Steve Cook.
This is Hair Loss Hope. And the other day I was watching my friend Matt Dominance's YouTube channel all about hair transplants and hair loss. And I watched this video and it was really compelling. And Matt did a great reaction to this video. And I just thought, wow, like I want to watch this video too and react to it. Matt has one of my favorite channels on YouTube about hair loss and hair transplants. I watch most all of his videos and just this was a favorite. So we're going to watch it together and see what Steve has to add because he's never seen it before, and some thoughts that I had when I was watching this video as well. It's just incredible before and after result from a Norwood 6 patient getting FUE.
All right, so he goes to a hair transplant doctor and he suggests him like, hey, if you want to have a good hair transplant result, something that will look natural, you need to get rid of the first 2 centimeters of your pigmentation line. Many guys are asking if it's painful or not, and yes, it can be painful, but by some guys more, by some guys who are less sensitive, I guess less, but there's a lot of heat being applied and also additional cooling applied, as you can see it here.
Yeah, that looks super painful.
Yeah, I've seen this many times before. That's exactly right. A lot of times they bring the temporal peaks way out and it literally looks like a tattoo.
Because the laser is additionally providing a lot of heat to that area, and that's why the cooling is required for a better comfort during this graft or hair removal session with a laser. This is how his forehead looks like after first session of laser removal, and we can still see some pigment, especially the lines which still need to be removed with the second session. Yeah, here we can already see that the lines are way less obvious, and probably there's going to be one last session. I think the guy in the video mentioned that this guy had done 3rd laser removal session because we can still see some lines on his forehead even after 2 sessions. We can see that his hairline is hair transplant ready, and it's already 2 centimeters higher than it originally was set with the pigmentation, so the doctor is much more willing to do a hair restoration on such a patient. And I see this a mistake sometimes, especially by clinics who are less experienced. Guys come there with previously done pigmentations and their hairlines are ridiculously low, and what the clinic does, they don't really suggest that patient to have it removed first and then come back, but they just do it and they just copy the line. And this is a big mistake because this is a very short-term result. It's not going to produce long-lasting result because the hair on the back and mid-scalp is going to recede further, and the guy will be left with an island of hair 5-10 years down the road, unfortunately. Okay, so be aware of that. Here we can see that it's very important for this patient to get on medication as soon as possible, because I presume that he stopped or never used medication prior to this point, since he was like a Norwood 6. He was just losing hair for all of his life up to this point. He got the pigmentation, so there was no reason for him really to keep his hair, because he probably thought that he will never have his hair back again until right now. So it's going to be very important for him to get on medication like finasteride to keep the lateral humps. We can see that his donor area looks okay, considering he has never used probably medication. It's just naturally, gradually thinning. So hopefully this patient will get on medication and hopefully he will respond very well to it, so he can thicken also that upper region here.
Aquí la primera operación, lo que podemos ver incluso es toda esta zona ya el primer día terminado. Vemos esta zona.
All right, so he's pretty much saying that the transplant was done in 2 days. During the first day, they did the hairline, as you can see here. They put like 1, 2, maybe 3 rows of single grafts. I hope they are single grafts, they should be. Based on this photo, I actually think that these should be only single grafts, because if you take a look here, they're not surrounded by a lot of scabs, like you know, when the blood dries, you know, it forms crusts and stuff like that. And usually the incisions, which are made for single grafts, are very slim, very narrow, and that results, or should result normally in less bleeding and lesser scab formation eventually, unlike the forelock zone here, which already has much more, you know, scabby or crusty areas, because in this area the doctors usually place like doubles, triples and multiples, which require bigger or larger incisions, and that results in more bleeding, and that's why you can see more scab formation and crust formation over here. So I think it should be singles, all that in the first maybe 2 rows of the hairline. So far so good. Okay, so first day of extraction they focused on the occipital region solely. I don't know whether they used a manual or motorized extraction. It's hard to tell just from looking at the donor as it is here. Yeah, so they are extending the extraction zones towards the left and right parietal zones. Here we can see that the punches are a little bit larger on some areas and tinier on other areas. That's because if the doctor wants to extract like a multiple follicle, like triple and a quadruple graft, then obviously the extraction hole will have to be larger compared to when he wants to extract a single graft.
Yeah, it looks like a good extraction, I think.
Yeah, it looks clean. Looks good.
Very clean.
Looks like a homogeneous extraction from here. This is the amount of grafts or follicular units that this guy got transplanted. It was 3,517.
Yes,
and it's gonna be transplanted on this area right here.
Ratios son 2.82, pues obviamente no me voy a...
Why am I not surprised? Spanish guys, 2.82, like a wonderful hair per graft average. That means that out of each graft,
Spanish and Middle Eastern are the strongest hair in the world.
In this case, 3,500 of them. Each of these grafts produces on average 2.8 hairs. That means that this guy is gonna end up with 9,917 hairs transplanted, assuming all of them will survive. Obviously not all of them will survive, but still, that's a really good hair per graft average. Here you can see after 13 days that the micropigmentation, that the pigment is still kind of very visible, and it's going to definitely add some nice boost to the overall result. You will see, even if the density may not be so high, it's going to look pretty full, I'm sure, eventually, and you will see that. Oh, this is the 2nd month mark, guys. Almost all of the transplanted hair fell out. Okay. So that's definitely what can happen, and in fact there is only like 5% or even less of overall hair transplant patients who don't shed at all, who are not experiencing this post-operative transplanted hair shedding, and you can't really avoid it, right? You can only slightly minimize it with some things.
Alright
guys, this is the 3rd month mark, and we can already see how this guy is growing hair, like literally, look at that. This guy's definitely an early grower, I think, because the 3rd month mark, and we can already see like more than 30% of the transplanted hair being sprouted. That's definitely more than 30%, and it doesn't always apply that like 3 months 30%, 4 months 40%, 12 months or 10 months 100%. It sometimes can be that by the 3rd, 4th month mark you can already have like 50% growth. Really, it sometimes happens fast if these guys start growing that hair too soon, or by the 3rd month mark is already like that. This is still 5th month mark, guys. It's really good. It's really good. This is the 12th month mark, by the way. Hairline looks natural, pretty soft, and I see occasional multiples in the hairline, but they're not occurring there regularly, which makes it more random looking and natural looking. Yeah, some doubles can occur in the hairline as long as they're like 90% singles, especially in the first 2 rows of the hairline, then it's fine, and I like it, really. It's looking very good. That's looking good. Together with that pigmentation, obviously. Come on, is this 3,500 grafts? Like, this guy's coming from this, and this is completely bald. The area we just outlined with these blue lines, it's like completely nothing to this. Wow, 12 months. We see so many good things. We see hypergraft average, we see darker hair, which is kind of starting to curl a little bit after a while. We see probably has also above average hair thickness, hair shaft thickness, which doesn't require the doctor to dance back so much. Maybe go more conservative, you know, 40 grafts per square centimeter, and it can already look very full and dense. He has so many great properties for a great hair transplant candidate.
I think there's a lot of improvement from finasteride because even right behind it,
Look at the crown.
yeah, so much more hair there now.
Micropigmentation, which I'm a big fan of. The medicine, which I'm a huge fan of, and he's got really strong hair. Absolutely great result.
Even despite being Norwood 6 to begin with, guys, that's great.
He also has a great curl to his hair.
He's probably showing that some areas could have grown better, but nonetheless, with the pigmentation underneath, it's looking great. But yeah, probably there still is something that will need to be filled out with the second session. Here we can also see that the scalp micropigmentation line underneath is visible and the pigmentation can be visible, but on the other hand it also adds a nice frame to that result, and without that pigmentation it would have looked a little bit more sparse on the edge here, and I think it actually looks pretty nice here. If he's worried about this pigmentation or pigment being very visible underneath the hairline, he can always add more density to the hairline with new grafts during the second session. Maybe he's gonna do it.
Y bueno, estamos viendo aquí la foto, la coronilla, zona cenital.
But look at that coverage even from this side. I mean, come on, it's looking so good for 3,500 grafts only.
No es el mismo, este tío tiene una donante mejor que cuando empezó. Si vamos al principio de la operación, antes de su primera cirugía.
They're saying that the donor is even better now than it was before his hair transplant because he got on medicine.
Exactly. That's a great example of what this medicine can do.
All right, guys, I need to stop it here because this is something very important that this guy is trying to discuss here, and it's the donor area. On the left, it's the donor area before 3,500 grafts had been extracted, and on the right, it's after.
Look at that. His crown doesn't need a hair transplant from the back, you know?
It's not even a visual improvement. That hair now, which is kind of outside the safe zone, for those desperate like me, that would be doable donor hair.
Which improved the appearance of this area visually. It thickened that hair, it darkened that hair, and that was exactly something that I was curious about before, if he's going to respond well to the medication. But as you see here, he's an excellent responder on top of the top of him being a great candidate and having all these great properties in his donor. He's also a good responder to medication, which is great to see. So don't just neglect the medication part just because you're already Norwood 5 or Norwood 6 and you just want to get that hair extracted as much as you can and place it on top. You still need medication before to make it even more optimal, not just for thickening that donor, but also preserving your transplanted hair once it's going to be implanted with the medication. All right, so this is the area shaved after 12 months, or I think 12 months, and this is going to be a second hair transplant. Let's take a look at the design. I think he really wants to add or have more hair added to the left area where the pigment was seen more, as we were able to see. So he really wants to add more hairs to this so the pigment will not be seen underneath. So that's all right. He's also strengthening that area here, which is also smart because he probably wants to comb that hair from left to right. So if he strengthens this area with more grafts, he can then comb it over like that and make it look visually thicker, and that's a smart decision and smart use of grafts instead of just randomly placing them all over here, and focusing on coverage. He tries to focus more on this area. So that's good. If you already know how you want to wear your hair, what a hairstyle you want to have after the transplant, you can allocate these grafts or have them allocated by the doctor in a more clever way. And obviously the crown area will be done as well. So let's take a look at it. I think they did the crown first, and the second day, as you can see here, they did a portion of the mid scalp and also added more density to the left side of his hairline.
2.300 unidades foliculares importante.
Oh, 2,300. So overall, this guy already got 5,800 grafts.
Mire la donante y zona cenital otra vez. Todo lo que le han puesto, 2.300 unidades foliculares. Importantísimo, el ratio de unidades foliculares es 2,90. Nunca he visto nada.
No way! No way! This guy got 2.9 hair per graft average with the second surgery. Oh my god, this is so good. That makes it how many hairs?
I like Matt's reaction. He's like, "Oh my god! Oh my god!" He's like, it's like he's seeing like his favorite team win the World Series.
Exactly. Yes.
My god, I need to calculate it. So this guy got 16,587 hairs already with his both procedures, 5,817 grafts. Wonderful. This is a great hair per graft average for 2 sessions.
So patients have to understand that the average based on Wikipedia is 2.2 to 2.5. That's average. Spanish guys, Middle Eastern, 2.9 is pretty reasonable.
So again, this is the month-by-month progress after the second operation. I'm just gonna skip through it. We can see that his donor is looking pretty nice. He's shaving his donor or getting a fade. That's interesting. Let's stop it maybe here. So I think it's here. We can see these white dots, you know, maybe a sign of a slight hypopigmentation. Obviously, if you are somebody with darker skin, the hypopigmentation can be more obvious if you shave that donor, as we have seen with LeBron James. And if you are Caucasian with, you know, pale skin, then the potential for hypopigmentation as a result of FUE scarring is very, very low. Here it's manageable. It's nothing out of the ordinary. The white dots I was just talking about are going to be most apparent in this region here because as we have seen where they were extracting the grafts, there were a lot of multiples, especially in this zone. So it's going to look more apparent, especially the white dots after doubles and triples and multiples. They're going to be the largest ones because the doctor also needs to, of course, use a larger punch to safely extract the graft if he wants to like avoid the potential transection. So the larger punch will cause slightly larger dot. But only if the patient obviously shaves the side. If he lets the hair grow longer, it's not going to be so apparent. This is 3 months. Okay, we see that the donor, the hair on the donor is already growing nicely. 5 months, guys, looking pretty damn thick, pretty damn thick.
Mira la zona cenital, sí.
This was good. This was 6-month result and the crown already looks pretty nice. Wow, this is 5 months, guys. This is awesome. Guys, 7 months. This guy was on orbit 6, looked like that. This is the month number 9.
Enseñando la donante con 2 cojones, zona cenital, pelazo, encima le ha salido un pelo bonito, un pelo lacio, un pelo ondulado, un pelo que no es crispado, raro.
And this will be like the official full result after 12 months after his second surgery. Although the hair growth on the crown can still be noticeable after 12 months, but on the mid-scalp and here on the left portion of the hairline, it's probably already full. It's already done with the growth. And yeah, this guy can be really happy. What else should I say, guys? What else should I say? And you know when somebody has a great hair quality, when you just brush it to the side and it just goes back again. It's just so wild and it it doesn't want to stay in one place. It just has that volume and strength and thickness, and you can see it on this very well when he just combs that hair and the hair is just gonna go right back. It's just like so thick.
Well, first off, thank you so much, Matt, for that incredible video and breakdown and for turning me on to this, because I think there are just so many great points and takeaways from this video. It actually inspired me. I want to do a video with you, Steve, where we just go through, like, are you an ideal hair transplant candidate? And we literally go through all of the things about this guy. But let's quickly do it here. If anyone's made it to the end of this video, because it's really long, we'll do a short video where people will actually watch it. But if you made it to the end, then I just want to go through what made this guy the ideal, best case, home run with the bases loaded hair transplant candidate, and why, you know, as awesome as it is, it's really not everybody, you know, and why it's like me, I watch this guy and I go, oh my gosh, but like how perfect he is for a hair transplant. Okay, so let's go through exactly why that is. So first reason, great responder to finasteride. Before the second hair transplant that he did, he'd already gained back a ton of his crown. You know, he'd already had so much gain before, and even his donor area looked better after the first hair transplant because of this incredible gain that he got back. So hyper responder, super responder to finasteride or minoxidil, whatever he's using. Not everyone is. Second thing, he has darker skin. So that's going to not be as much of a contrast of the dark hair versus the light skin. You'll see more of a contrast there. So it's not going to be as obvious, like a unbelievable result. Not only does he have dark skin, but he also has skin micropigmentation. So that's going to help with the look of density. So any hair that you add on there, it's going to look like you're adding almost twice as much really because of that, again, lack of contrast. So you got then the third thing is that he has the perfect hair, and not only like great hair, but the perfect hair for a hair transplant, meaning he has super ropey Latin hair. It's like you were saying, what are the two best kind of patients basically in the world?
The Middle Eastern and the Spanish descent, no question about it.
And this is a Spanish descent patient. And not only does he have this incredible Spanish super thick hair, but it's wavy as well. So it adds even more density. So one hair, if you imagine like one hair sticking up straight like this, is not going to take up as much room on the head as one hair sticking up like this and like that's curving. It's taking up more space that like blocks the eye's view of the eye to the scalp. Okay, you add an even a little bit better one. Not only does he have wavy hair and ropey hair, but he also even has a little bit of white hair in there as well. So he's got a little bit of a salt and pepper look, which helps break up the look of and makes it even more dense. People that have salt and pepper hair or like a light hair on a light skin are going to have the appearance of more density. So it's just like completely ideal. Is there anything else that you want to add from those?
No, I think, David, you put it pretty well.
One other one. Okay, so, and then super high hair per graft average. So, which kind of has to do with the donor hair. But again, this is like, you know, if he'd had that same donor hair, but his hair per graft average was only, let's say, like 2.2 instead of 2.9, still would have been less. So it was like super high hair per graft average mixed in with perfect hair, super responder, like literally everything was perfect for this guy. And and he got a great surgeon, and you go, bam, like brilliant result. But what's dangerous is that is comparing yourself to this guy. It's a little bit like doing Arnold Schwarzenegger's workout and then like going, oh, but I don't look like Arnold Schwarzenegger. I read his book and I did the same exact workout that he did. Why do I not look like Arnold Schwarzenegger? And I'm sure a lot of people did Arnold Schwarzenegger's workout after, you know, and as motivated as that guy is and as hard as he works out, a lot of people did his workout and did not look like him, you know?
Yeah, I'll tell you, David, you put it very well. I can't really add much to it. All that I can tell you is that when I assess someone, when I look at someone and try to help people, I like to point out what they have going for them and what they have going against them. Now, other than the fact that this patient had some micropigmentation too low, which that was more challenging than kind of Matt put out there. He was super nice about it. That hurts a lot, and that's a lot of sessions. So, but luckily for that patient, he got through it. This patient had everything going for him. You know, you named it, right? Just quickly, it's the finasteride, it's the type of skin, it's the color skin, and even the micropigmentation that helped camouflage the fact that his Spanish skin even looked darker.
Yeah.
So what I would like to communicate is it doesn't always work out that way. But when we look at the pros, we look at the cons, we have to set ourselves up for realistic expectations. That's a great example of someone that did everything right other than going out and getting his micropigmentation put down here. He did that wrong, but it was able to be fixed. But he went to the right clinic, right doctor, did everything right, especially that medication. You could see in that back portion and that lower dipping, like the horseshoe, how it dips. That came back huge, which is actually donor hair for the future if he even needed it. So he just needs to stay on that medication, 2 procedures, he's done. And congratulations, and congratulations to Matt, and thank you for sharing the video with us.